and I hope today will be more or less same number. I hope that it will be again beautiful and pleasant moments that we'll share, and at the end you will live with a feeling of fulfillment and meaningful time spent together. Today I'm here with my friends and colleagues Bogdan Rumanica and Eleni Mikhail.
Yeah, hello. Greetings also from my side, from Romania. I'm in Cluj-Napoca at the moment this time, and it's so good to see you here. If you are for the first time in the summit, welcome, and I hope you will enjoy it. If you attended also the other webinar on Monday, just welcome back, and thank you for keeping the connection alive. I hope you'll enjoy this evening as well. Thank you.
And also welcome from my side. My name is Eleni. It's wonderful to see you guys. I just went through the videos and I saw the ones who have the camera on. And welcome also. It's great to have you here to talk about nature and how we reconnect with it. So I wish we all enjoy it, and I'm sure we will.
Thank you very much, Eleni and Bogdan. My name is Ognian Gadoularov. I'm in Bulgaria now. I'm from Bulgaria, and I will be the main speaker and host of today's events. Before we start, I want to say again that Moving Beyond Summit and this set of webinars, of 4 webinars that we organize, are part of a bigger project funded by European Erasmus Plus program, a 2-year project about sharing and developing innovative methods for personal and professional development of young people. And the 3 areas that we are using and presenting through this project and through this webinar are nature-based learning, positive psychology, and ecocentric developments. Today's webinar is coming from the nature-based learning dimension, and it's called The Way of Nature, Discovering Our Natural Roots. And I want to tell you why I'm the one who present this. As I mentioned on Monday, each webinar is led by a person who is connected and passionate about the topic. My original profession is veterinary medicine. I was working as a surgeon, veterinary surgeon, for 7 years, between 2000 and 2007. But in biggest part of my life, I was always connected to environmental protection, and also scientific researches related to nature and natural worlds. I feel that I'm coming back to this field in the last 5-6 years by moving into programs for nature-based personal development, and this is more or less the topic of today's webinar that I'm welcoming in. I want to express again my gratitude to see so many known faces, so many friends, the people who are with us for many years, and also so many people who I don't know. And this is even more exciting to connect with new people and to share what we can offer with new people. I want to tell you again, to remind you about the option of writing questions and opinions and ideas in the chat of our meeting. At the end, we will have about 15 minutes to address as many as possible questions. At that time, my colleagues Bogdan and Eleni will be also present, and will help in facilitation and answering the questions. And also I want to remind you that this event will be recorded in order to be able in the future to share it with even more people, and to be able to disseminate these events and the knowledge that we share and offer to more people. So this is it. the introduction, I want to tell you before I start. I want to tell you that I feel stressed and I feel afraid that it will be not possible for me to fit in the time, because there are so many things I prepare for that. There are so many things that I want to share and tell you now. So there is a voice in me that is saying, you need to hurry up. You lose time. Go on. So I will listen to this voice. I will go on, and I will leave it to rest. And I will give my best to be as much as possible close to the practical dimension of what we are speaking. And I hope that you will find things that can be helpful for your personal or professional development. I want to start with a poem from David White that is more or less expressing the core ideas of what I'm going to present today. The poem is called Sometimes. Sometimes, if you move carefully through the forest, breathing like the ones in the old stories, who could cross a shimmering bed of dry leaves without a sound, you come to a place whose only task is to trouble you. With tiny but frightening requests, conceived out of nowhere, but in this place, beginning to lead everywhere. Requests to stop what you are doing right now and stop what you are becoming while you're doing it. Questions that can make or unmake life. Questions that have patiently waited for you. Questions that have no right to go away. There are many questions that I will generate in you today, and this is my main task. I want to generate questions in you. It is said that asking big questions is the best way to move forwards. Looking for answers is the process that makes us change and transform. And the transformation is what we believe is needed nowadays in the world. Transformation in persons, transformation in communities, transformation in nations. Transformation that can lead to shift in culture, that can bring us back to our natural roots. And from this place, to enable us to imagine new way of living, a new future that can be possible for all living beings, not only humans, but all living beings on Earth, to live equally free and equally happy and equally satisfied. And this is where I will try to start. Let me. I have a PowerPoint presentation prepared with many things, as I told you. Now, second try. Yes. Discovering our natural roots. One of the main things that is not very often recognized in modern world is that people are emerging from 4.5 billion years of evolution of the Earth. and all the living beings. And people are in fact so much connected to the nature that they cannot disconnect themselves. And this is the main thing that is happening in modern Western, not only in the Western society. We are both very much distant from outer nature and from the inner nature, because they cannot be separated. We live with with innate nature in us. We have our natural capacities of imagination, sensing, feeling, and being really part of the big network of life, the web of life that we are part of. And as we live in our artificial civilized worlds, is in fact one illusion that is created by materialistic consumerist society in order to function. And we can see nowadays that this way of living is more and more collapsing. And reconnecting with our natural roots is one of the ways out of this situation. And what I will try to share with you now is a kind of process that I believe it's possible for everyone nowadays to follow in order to reconnect and to find their natural roots. To share an example from nature-based cultures about how we are connected and what are the how we can use this connection in order to develop further as individuals, and also to share a set of practices, really practical ways that can help us in our everyday life in order to reconnect. So let's start with the process. I need to go back because this is in fact the last slide of the presentation. I need to go to the first one, which is very similar. I choose these images because they show something very important. They show our place, and this is our place, the Earth, the big organism, the huge ecosystem of interconnected beings from which we are now living a bit distant. And the first element that I want to share with you is the nature deficit disorder. Nature deficit disorder is a condition which is not recognized by modern medicine. It's something that modern medicine is even afraid to recognize and to follow. Describes this condition in Last Child in the Wood, his book from 2003, I think. I'm not absolutely sure. But what he describes there is that modern children and modern people live less and less outdoors and spend less and less time in the natural environments. And this leads to different circumstances. One dimension that nature deficit disorder is present is different physical conditions. And there are many examples of rising level of allergies, rising level of asthma, and rising level of immune deficits, different diseases that are increased and they are connected with artificial way of living. Another dimension where we can see nature deficit disorder present is in psychological dimension. There are many cases of attention deficit disorders, autism, depression that are connected to less time spent in nature and accessing nature. And this is very common in modern alternative medicine that is used, the nature therapy is used to treat these kind of conditions, and the way the results that are shown are very much in line with all the data related of this condition, is that in modern world, many people live in big cities which don't give a very easy access to natural environments. Also, the way the kids grow are very much connected to screens and different ways of learning, which are very connected to knowledge development and intellectual ways that is not very much practical and not connected to outdoor experiences and nature-based experiences. One of the main results of this disconnection from nature is the limited respect for natural surrounding, and this is one of the things that somehow encourage people and encourage societies to live the way they live today, by using and treating nature as a resource for satisfying their needs and desires. And this is kind of connection to the second thing I want to share, which is the 4 dimensions of nature connection. 4 dimensions of nature connection is a concept developed by American naturalist and environmentalist John Young, founder of H. Shields organization, association of mentors and guides that is focused on developing a reconnection of people with the nature in all its dimensions. The 4 levels or 4 dimensions of nature connection can be described this way. Their first level, or the most distant level of connection with nature, is so-called nature information. Nature information is the way we connect with nature by experiencing it from distance and receiving information about it through reading books, watching movies, attending classes in which we develop our knowledge with nature. But as you can see, these are all methods that develop our knowledge, but in absolutely no way gives us practical experience and sensual experience with nature. And as John Young says, the nature information is a multi-billion-dollar industry all over the world. All the natural channels on TV and screens, all the books and magazines that shows us beautiful pictures and gives us information about what is happening somewhere. Second level is so-called nature experience. Nature experience are all the activities in which people use nature as a medium to satisfy their desires. This is the way how people consume nature for their own satisfaction. And you can imagine all the things that many of us are very passionate about, like skiing, snowboarding, hiking, photo safari or hunting safari, outdoor sports, natural park hikes, and all the other ways of spending our holiday and spending our time satisfying our needs and desires by using nature as a source of this. And again, this is the way how people treat the nature as something that can be in our benefits, but there is no mutual connection and there is no mutual exchange. Again, nature experience is multi-billion-dollar industry all over the world. It is part of modern consumerism and sometimes modern way of environmental friendly life. Deep topic that we are not going to tackle now. There are 2 more levels of nature connection. These are nature connection and deep nature connection. Both are ways of physical, emotional, sensual, and intellectual connection with nature that are related to mutual mutual understanding and exchange. Nature connection is this um, natural way of interacting with nature that is visible and very often developed by kids in modern world that live in small villages or in areas that are very close to nature. This is the connection that maybe many of us who are older than modern generation are raised in countryside environments, and we develop this connection through the free play in the forests and fields, the moments when we are not observed and not restricted by any rules and any restrictions. This is the connection that we develop by experiencing nature as the perfect, diverse, and ideal playgrounds. The moments that we feel trees, animals, air, springs, water, lakes, clouds as our friends and equal to us. This is the connection that people feel lost and sad about when they move from countryside to big cities and become alive, disconnected from it. And this is the connection that can, in some cases, continue develop and develop into so-called deep nature connection. Deep nature connection is a way of connecting with nature that is present in most of the old nature-based cultures. This is the way of connection when people don't experience themselves as the very center of the universe, but experience themselves as a part of the greater web of life. When people connect not only physically but spiritually to all the living and non-living beings. This is the nature connection that is possible to develop when you experience something which is called eco-awakening. And eco-awakening is the third element of the process that I'm sharing with you. The process of moving from disconnected life from nature to feeling more connected and coming to real connection that we are born with. Eco-awakening is kind of process that is possible only in our modern society and modern culture, because by default in nature-based culture there is no such thing like eco-awakening. People in old nature-based cultures are living all their life connected with nature. In our case, because of the way of living, education, growing, parenting, and the civilized way of urbanization, we reach the moment when in young or not so young years, we experience something like conscious and embodied experience of innate membership in Earth community. And this is the moment when people shift their consciousness and become experiencing their real place in the ecosystem. This is the moment when we shift our consciousness and move ourselves from the very center of the universe to our real place, the place of equal member and equal elements in global ecosystem. And this is the eco-awakening, understanding not only by our minds, but with our intuition, our senses, our emotions, our imagination, all the windows of knowing, deep in ourselves, understanding that we are part in something bigger, that we are not the center. And the easiest way to explain what eco-awakening is to say that this is a shift of consciousness from egocentrism to ecocentrism. Shift of consciousness from being the center to being an equal part and member of the greater web of life. And this is what is observed in modern world more and more. More and more people shift their consciousness and achieve this experienced, embodied understanding that we cannot survive and we cannot live without being a part of this world together with all the living and non-living beings. And this is the state of consciousness. The equal awakening is the moment that we start discovering or rediscovering our natural roots. This is the moment that we connect to our depths that are coming from the nature, our inner, genetically imprinted 4.5 billion years of evolution in us. And I will continue with giving an example of one model that is that finds and describes the connection between the natural resources that every person is born with and the natural symbols and natural elements. I will share with you punk cultural symbolism coming from the natural elements that we can find in many ancient and modern cultures in all the continents, which are connected to what we are born with. And these elements are used by American psychologist Bill Plotkin to create the nature-based map of human psyche. The model of nature-based map of human psyche is a model that describes all the resources that every person is born with, the things that are in us at the moment of our birth and that we are able to develop in our life. And the connection of these resources to the elements of nature are through different characteristics and qualities that these elements of nature represents and can be found in our human qualities and human capacities. So let's start with the nature-based symbolism. There are four different elements that we can find, as I said, in many cultures, in all over the continents, in all the ages of human development. We have the four. First of them is the four cardinal directions: east, south, west, and north. We have also the four seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. We have the four parts of the day: dawn, noon, dusk, and midnight. And the four periods in human life: childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and elderhood. And by arranging these elements in four different clusters, we can in fact create this model which serves as a base of the nature-based map of human psyche, based on the qualities and capacities that these four clusters represent. These four clusters or four directions are also can be described and are described in the nature-based map of human psyche with the four archetypes of human wholeness. Each direction and each set of qualities is described by one archetype. And I will give you now the examples how this looks like. The four archetypes of human wholeness. The East archetype is so-called innocent sage. And the elements, the nature elements and nature symbols of the East are spring, dawn, and childhood. And if you observe these elements, you can see that the qualities they bring and the characteristics they carry are innocence, light, new beginning, and wisdom. So these are the qualities that are represented by the archetype of the East innocent sage. The South archetype is the wild indigenous one, which is connected to natural symbols of South, summer, noon, adolescence. And here we can find the qualities of emotions, wildness, freedom, fire, erotic, all these elements that are carried in the image of South. Going clockwise to the West archetype, West human archetype, which is the muse beloved, there we have the natural symbols of West, autumn, dusk, and adulthood. And the qualities that emerge out of these symbols are the art and poetry, mystery, darkness, depths of human psyche, and depths of nature. And these are the qualities that are characterized by the archetype of muse beloveds. And finally, the North archetype of the nature-based map of human psyche, we have the nurturing generative adults. On the north, we have the symbols of winter, midnight, and elderhood. All of them connected to wisdom, care, parenting, and nurture. So these are the elements that are put on the natural templates of the pattern of four by the psychologist Bill Plotkin, and thus creating the nature-based map of human psyche. Visualizing our inner and deepest roots to nature, showing how resources that we are born with and can be developed are in fact connected to the natural patterns and natural elements, showing how people are in fact part of this big cosmos and universe that we are part of, and we cannot disconnect ourselves. It's very visible in modern world how these resources are suppressed or underdeveloped. And the main goal of discovering our natural roots and reconnecting to our natural roots is in fact cultivating these resources, cultivating all the capacities and characteristics and qualities that we are born with, and that they are represented to the four directions and the four archetypes. By cultivating these resources, we in fact develop our wholeness and create infinite resource of us being truly humans and fully humans by engaging ourselves in bigger life that we can imagine in this moment. One thing that I learned about people and human after start studying the nature-based map of human psyche is that the resources that every one of us is born with are endless, and we can always develop more and more things, and we can every day become more and more connected and more capable and more successful in everything that we are doing by following these natural patterns and natural paths. And to give you some examples about how we can develop these resources and cultivate these capacities and characteristics, I will share with you a set of practices that are very easy to implement in our daily life. And some of them you'll see that they are not very popular in modern world, and even some of them can be perceived as not very pleasant. The practices are coming from three different dimensions. First is so-called nature-based practices, different methods that we can practice in natural environments. Second dimension are interpersonal practices, the one that we practice with other people by sharing with them different ways. And third dimension are intrapersonal practices, the one that we practice with ourselves and by ourselves. All three dimensions can be used both in reconnecting with the outer nature and reconnecting with our inner nature. So there are different ways we can use them. Also, each practice can be directed to different resource or different archetype or different qualities and characteristics. Everything depends on the intention or the settings that we're using them. And they are very easy. One thing that is common between all the practices is that the name of the practice is very much describing everything that is in it. And first one, and my favorite, is wandering in nature. And wandering in nature, one description of what wandering in nature can mean, which is very much different than hike or walk in the park. So wandering in nature is a great way to shut your mind. It can be described as an alternative walk in nature where there are no aims to achieve. Wandering in nature does not aim at exercising, following a particular trail, or achieving a particular goal, although you may accomplish them also on the way. Wandering in nature is about immersing yourself in the greatness of the wilds and the Mother Earth and letting the signs to guide your way. So this is how we understand wandering in nature, by being fully present with your senses, emotions, imagination in the present moment without having any aim, and being open to your intuition and follow every kind of sign that you can find in the wild nature. And this is the basic practice you can use for discovering your natural roots. Just being present in wilderness with all the human ways of experiencing and being in contact with nature. Second practice that is emerging from this one and is a variation of this one is very beautiful, and it's connected to developing the East resources, the East characteristics, the innocent sage. It's called praise walk. Praise walk is wandering nature, which you can practice in the morning when the sun rises and when the new day is coming, when the new day is born, and this is the moment of the new beginning. Praise walk is the way that you can experience the world like you never experienced it before. Looking at the world with the eyes of a newborn, like you see every being like for the very first time. And you can enrich this practice of praise walk by praising every being you meet, by speaking words of praise, words of appreciation, expressing how they touch your heart and your mind in this moment. And by this enriching your day with charge of amazing energy. Next practice, again connected with wandering in nature, is barefoot walk. Barefoot walk is a beautiful and amazing way to connect, really to connect bodily, sensually, with your senses and skin to the energy of earth, to experience the ground and to experience the world around you with your senses without being isolated of any material. barefoot walk is another beautiful way of being in connection with the cosmos and the universe as a bigger dimension of nature is star and sun gazing. Being able to stop for a moment and put your eyes into the great mystery of universe, thinking about your place in this huge, endless cosmos, or look at our own star, the center of our solar system, the sun, the source of all life on Earth. Two beautiful ways of connecting to our natural roots and our natural place. Going into the interpersonal practices, starting with deep conversations. Deep conversations are conversations in which we involve people and engage into the present moment with all our intention to speak and to deepen our connection to present moments. Deep conversations are the conversation in which we express and share our feelings, life, our troubles. We speak and share and listen others about their opinion about death and life and cosmos and universe, kids, way of parenting, future worlds, many things that we usually don't have time to stop during our days and share and think. And by speaking and sharing our opinions, we also connect to the places where this opinion is coming from, our souls and our hearts. And this also connect with the souls, hearts of our other people around us. By deep conversations, we're crossing behind the superficial way of expressing and speaking in our everyday life and going to the way we can speak and connect on a deeper, natural, and more rooted level. Again, one practice that is including deep conversation, but is also connecting to a way of listening and a way of participating is the way of counsel. This is a practice that emerged from many cultures and rituals in many nature-based societies, and it's a practice of sharing in circle, where all the participants speak from the heart and listen from the heart, thus practicing active listening and connecting between each other. One practice which can be perceived both as interpersonal and intrapersonal is the practice of expressing gratitude. Finding place and moments during the day to express gratitude to people around you, to the universe, to life, to yourself, is a moment that increase the level of happiness and positive emotions. Expressing gratitude is a beautiful way of connecting to people and also to create a positive mindset and again to reconnect with a way of interconnection that we can experience every moment of our life. By expressing gratitude, we see the way we are interconnected with other beings, the things that we receive, and this is the way we can give back things. And as I said, this practice is a border between intrapersonal and interpersonal. Expressing gratitude to ourselves for what we are doing and how we are doing it is again a way to acknowledge ourselves and to acknowledge good things and positive qualities that we present in our life, and by them being present into connecting with others. Journaling is first of the intrapersonal practices that I will offer to you, and you can journal about everything. Keeping personal journal can in fact give a very valuable moments of reflection about your daily experiences, but also can give a space for practicing other ways of expression, like writing poetry, writing stories, writing letters, or describing things that are hard to express by speaking, but keeping them in the journal gives possibility to your hearts and your emotions to express freely, not controlled and not restricted by the strategic minds. So keeping a journal is a practice that can enrich your ways of expression and way to connect your experiences. Last practice that I would like to offer to you as a single practice is embodiment. It can be experienced by dancing, but not only. It can be every way of free movements or authentic movements. And this practice is based on belief that together with our thinking mind, we have also somatic intelligence, intelligence of our body. Our body intelligence is in fact even more ancient than our thinking. This is the intelligence that is genetically inherited in us from our evolution, millions and billions of years before we become intelligent. And the way we can connect with our somatic intelligence is by letting our body lead ourselves. We can do it accompanied by music, but we can do it just by moving, by embodying different emotions, images, dreams, dancing our visions, dancing our nightlife dreams, dancing the way we feel, moving towards what we experience, expressing ourselves through movements, thus connects with our deepest and oldest source of intelligence, and letting our body speak to us and send ourselves messages and fire our intuition and give us ways to experience and connect with our ancient natural ways of being. This was a very short list of practices that I prepared to offer to you today. And here is just an example of other practices and areas that if we dive in or develop or practice, we can support our nature connection and going to the level of deeper nature connection or eco-awakening states, like area of emotional intelligence, mindfulness, working values, volunteering, natural tracking, singing, storytelling, active listening, and many other things. There are many sources that we can find out different and diverse practices that we can choose to fit to our way of living and our environment and our needs and wishes. So this was more or less the things that I wanted to present to you today. And you see again the slide that we were started with, again the picture of Mother Earth from the cosmos. The point of view that very few people reached, but by using modern technology, we can experience and we can see how our Earth Earth look from the cosmos. And looking in it, we can connect to who we are and where we are. So let's just have a brief check. Are you still with me? You can make a sign. I hope that the things that I present were understandable and not very hard to digest. But in order to follow my promise in the beginning that I will keep the things as practical as possible, I want to invite you really to practice. And I will give you an invitation for 4 different ways to which you can engage yourself more and start with one small step, what we call act now, your reconnection and discovering your natural roots. In a few seconds, I will play one song, so you will be limited to one song time, in which you can choose by 4 different ways of incorporating what you just listened to. And the 4 different ways that I want to offer to you is, if you feel moved by the music, you can switch off your camera and practice the embodiments that I just shared with you. And through moving your body and diving in your somatic intelligence, to try to dance what you take out from this presentation that you just heard. What are the emotions? What are the images that appeared in you? And you can dance them. Second option, second invitation, the one who feel called, is to try journaling and to try to write down what are the things that you do, what are the main messages that you find in the presentation, or what are the images that appeared, how you feel now after it. Third invitation is to use drawing. If you feel called by drawing images, you can really draw again what you are taking from this 52 minutes of speaking about ways of connecting with nature and practicing this. And fourth and final invitation is to use your imagination. The one who feel called, you can close your eyes, and guided by the music, you can imagine, to free your imagination and to imagine everything that appeared in you, to leave your imagination open, the visions that appeared out of these moments. So now I will turn on the music and you will have one song time to really to practice. Welcome back. I hope you spent meaningful one-song time, and I encourage you also, after we finish with this meeting, you can continue journaling and writing down more insights after today, or you can just play the music and leave your imagination free to look for a vision of a beautiful future worlds where everyone can be rooted in their inner and outer nature, and we can live together with all living and non-living beings in mutual exchange and development. Now it's time to move to the question and answer part. So we can invite what are the questions in the chat, and to invite you also to drop more questions if you have more now, and the three of us will try to address and answer as many as possible.
Mhm. Wonderful. Thank you so much for this in-depth presentation. So all this time I have been gathering the questions, and you can still write more questions if you have, but we already have a couple of them and we can begin. Maybe the first one, we can start with this one, which is referring to the archetypes. The four resources that are deriving from the four cardinal dimensions, east, west, south, north. So the question is it seen as a sort of cycle along the lifetime, or are they more of characteristics that remain in us? Mm.
Very good question. It makes me a bit sad that we don't have more time in order to go deeper into the nature-based map of human psyche, because this is the second of the two models in the concept of ecocentric development. One is the ecocentric developmental wheel that will be presented tomorrow, and second one is the map, the nature-based map of human psyche. And we focused only on the wheel because this is one more easy to understand and more practical of the two models. About the archetypes, I will give you an example that can visualize that this is not a cycle. In fact, in every stage of life, we have access, and we can embody and experience and act the different characteristics and resources from the all directions. And according the situation we are in, if we have a good amount of development of wholeness and resource of the whole direction, we can access and act and behave from the point of one of the dimensions. And the example is from the north, the nurturing generative adults, and is connected to babies, the toddlers. The one of you who have babies around 1 year old. I'm now referring to my son, who is 1 year and 9 months. You can very easily see how they act from the position of north, from the resources of north, and they try to help. They try to feed people around. They try to do things the way adults do, with the absolutely pure intention to help and to support. So this is a good example of how the north resources can be present in very early childhood. Same, you can see south resources in the elders. There are many people who keep their wildness and emotion, the way they express their emotions and feelings, and wildness, even in old age. So it's not a cycle. It's a set of resources to which we have access in every moment of our life, according the level of their developments.
Mm. There is one more rather simple question. I left a bigger one a little bit later, since I have the capacity to coordinate the discussion. So the easy one, let's say more simple, is what does centering refer to? And I think it is based on um, the last slide you had, Ogi. What does centering refer to?
Centering is contemplative contemplative practice. By centering, you can refer as a basic meditation where you connect to the center. Centering is, for example, moments when before go and speak in front of the audience, you take a deep breath, you close your eyes, you sit still for 30 seconds behind the stage, and after that you open your eyes and step on the stage. So this is an example of centering technique.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then we have this question: how do you think that we can influence our governments to have more classes in schools about ecocentrism and being in nature? How do you? Yeah.
I was about to offer if you, Eleni or Bogdan, wants to ask this question, but now I'm hearing it, and I feel like giving my personal life example about this, because for many years I was part, and I'm still part of same organization, non-governmental organization that is working in the field of alternative education. And as part of this team, we were participating in many civic commissions, in many questionings and seminars and negotiations and discussions between stakeholders from the Ministry of Education, from the school administration and universities. And at the end, we found these efforts, uh, I don't want to say meaningless, but with very little effects, because the system is not so flexible and not ready to transform. So what we decided to do is not to try to move the mountain because it's hard, but rather to climb the mountain by ourselves, which we found a bit easier. And from that moment, we focus our activities and our efforts into offering out of school activities that are based on ecocentrism and environmentalism. So children camps, personal developmental programs for youth, adult programs for adults, transformational programs for adults on national or international level. And I see this as a easiest way to increase the number of classes and options and activities that can help people to connect more with this field and this dimension of ourselves, by providing us to provide more and more activities for people.
Mm-hmm. We are still waiting for maybe 1, 2 more questions. In the meantime, Bogdan, do you feel like adding to what Ogi already said? Maybe.
Maybe just
Well, I will take this opportunity and I will. Perfect.
yeah. Maybe one thought about this is that I believe that the education is made by people, by educators. by teachers. And I think they are the ones giving the trend of what kind of activities we do with in classes, in youth centers. So I think it's really important for the educators to experience nature as deeply as possible. And when the educators experience nature and they become eco-awakened, then it's much easier, to change the education system from within rather than from above. So I would go for the option of empowering the people, the educators, and they will shape the system.
Mhm. Well, what I would add on everything you guys said is that we are starting with small steps, because maybe big changes are scaring the well preserved and well established system, and maybe forgetting everything and turning into forest school immediately. This is maybe not the way the system, the governmental school would work. However, other practices like the ones Ogi mentioned, like mindfulness, gratitude, and nature, and when we see the big picture, when we are grateful for what we are doing, when we have these praise walks or praise talks or deep conversations, this is also a way of moving away from the egocentrism, from the ego, from myself, the tiny self, to the eco, to the community. This is what I would add.
Very much. Yeah. Thank you, Lenny. Thank you, Bulga, for this.
Well, it seems to me that I don't see any other question, or we just have one now. Sharing books and movies we are going to share in the end of all the webinars. Maybe we have a question here. I wonder if now, when I see families spending more time in nature in lockdown, that this memory will stay. So the question is, if if families will continue spending time together after the lockdown, or maybe what can we do in order to spend more time together with the family after the lockdown.
What I strongly believe is that this lockdown reminded people how much we need spending time in nature. And I hope that people will develop these habits, because by developing this as a habit, they will move forward. By spending more time in nature, they will not just continue satisfying their desire to be out on the fresh air on the second level of nature connection, and we'll move further, the deepest level, by spending more time there with the families and maybe sharing deep conversations. And the only thing that can help them to remember and to continue is changing the lifestyle, because this is the first step. Remembering how much we need this time is the first step. Second step is changing the lifestyle, because as soon as we go back in front of the screens and TVs and shopping malls and start numbing ourselves again with all the legal drugs like shopping, alcohol, television, advertisement, and all these things, the needs will dissolve. So let's hope that people will develop these habits fast and will continue. So this will reduce also the time in front of the screens, will reduce time in the shopping malls, and will increase the time in the nature.
Mm. Well, I guess that's all the questions.
Last thing
I
want
hope.
to add, there was a need for sharing resources. I just want to express it verbally that after finishing all the 4 webinars, we're planning to collect a set of resources which contains books, websites, materials, also all the manuals and workbooks that we develop in this during this project will be also available, and all of them are in uh, the four languages: Bulgarian, Greek, English, and Romanian. So there will be many materials that can be used by practitioners in the fields in order to support increasing the nature connection and discovering natural roots of yourself and the people you work with. Because I see that most of the people who attend these webinars are from the field of working with people, educators, guides, trainers, facilitators. So these resources that we'll share with you hope will be valuable and useful. Yeah, thank you very much. I see that the time is moving and it never stops. In the final moments of our webinar, I want to close our meeting today with one more poem. Again from David, but this time from David Wagner. The name of the poem is Lost. Stand still. The trees ahead and bushes beside you are not lost. Wherever you are is calling here, and you must treat it as a powerful stranger. Must ask permission to know it and be known. The forest breathes. Listen. It answers. I have made this place around you. If you leave it, you may come back again saying, here. No two trees are the same to raven. No two branches are the same to wren. If what a tree or a bush does is lost on you, you are surely lost. Stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you, and I wish you from all my heart to let the forest find you and to ask those questions that can appear only when you are somewhere in the wild nature. To be able to follow this question and to move yourself towards a better version of you that can contribute to the future of all living beings on earth and to the future that people can live together in mutual cooperation and co-creation with all the things in our planet. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening and see you tomorrow.